All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to go ahead and get started with our Knife Skills Lab demonstration, and I am going to be demoing the fruit salsa for you guys today. And the first thing I wanted to show you is that on my recipe, what I did was I went ahead and I highlighted all of the items that I'm going to have to do in order to make this recipe work for me. So as I'm going through here, I know what I need to do at each and every step. So that's the first thing I did. The second thing I did was I looked through those steps and I kind of figured out which tools I would need in order to make this recipe as well. And what I did was I got my station all set up, and then I started measuring out my ingredients. I'm going to pause for a second so I can get my camera situated, and I'm going to go through those steps with you. All right, so most of the ingredients are pretty straightforward. It says 1 kiwi, 1 apple. It says 4 ounces of blueberries. Now, if you don't have a scale at home, that's okay. 4 ounces of blueberries is about 1 cup, so you can estimate that. Since we're not baking, it's okay to kind of take those into consideration. So 4 ounces of blueberries or raspberries is about 1 cup. Now, I did want to kind of remind you on how to measure using the scale. So we'll talk about the strawberries here. We're going to hit our scale on. We're going to put our bowl that we're going to use onto our scale, and we're going to hit the tare button or the 0 button. Then once it's all zeroed out with our measuring vessel on top, we're going to just go ahead and start adding our strawberries. It says 1/2 pound. So a regular pound, a full pound, is 16 ounces. So I know that I need 8 ounces in order to make this recipe work. And there's 8 ounces. Now, again, if you don't have a scale, this is about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, about 10 to 12 strawberries, depending on the size. Again, it's probably going to be about 2 cups if you are measuring by using a cup. So 10 to 12 strawberries or 2 cups. Now, when we get to our other ones, it says we need 1 tablespoon of sugar. I'm not going to demo that because it's pretty simple. You scoop, shake, and level off. Now, I did want to review the measuring of brown sugar. It says we need 2 teaspoons. I just want to remind you that brown sugar needs to be packed in to our measuring vessel. I just like to use the actual bag and kind of scoop it in. There's 1. Use the bag, press it against the side, make sure it's nice and leveled off. And there's 2. So my packed brown sugar. And then the final thing that you need to measure is the strawberry or whatever kind of jam you have at home. Now it needs 1.5 tablespoons of this. We don't have a 1/2 tablespoon measure here at school, so we have to do some math. First, I'm going to do my 1 tablespoon. I'm going to use the side of the can here to kind of scrape off and do my leveling. So there's my 1 tablespoon. Now I got to figure out what a 1/2 tablespoon is. And I know that a tablespoon has 3 teaspoons. So a 1/2 of a tablespoon is 1.5 teaspoons. So the jam or the preserves are going to be the one that's going to give you the most dishes to have to wash afterwards. So 1 tablespoon plus 1 teaspoon plus a 1/2 teaspoon. And now all my stuff is measured out and ready to go. All right, now just because my stuff is measured doesn't actually mean it's ready to start my preparation process because none of my fruits have been washed yet. So I'm going to take my strawberries over to the sink and I'm going to take my apple and kiwi and I'm going to rinse those off with cool water. The reason I'm not rinsing my blueberries is because I am using frozen blueberries here at school. But if you were using fresh at home, you would need to rinse those in your cool water as well. Now that my stuff is all cleaned up, I'm going to go ahead and show you guys how to actually get these things prepared because just because they're measured out doesn't mean they're ready. They need to be prepared in a different way. So the first thing I'm going to show you is the kiwi. Now I have my cutting board set up with my knives parallel to the top. I need a chef's knife and a paring knife for this. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take my kiwi and I'm going to look where the root and where the stem actually are. What I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this kiwi in half, leaving the root and the stem. So it's going to look like this when I cut through to it. So the root and the stem both have an end. Then I'm going to take a spoon here, regular old spoon, and I'm going to go close to the edge of the skin. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to kind of work this spoon around, staying as close to the skin as I possibly can. And I am going to be able to scoop this guy out. Now, if he's getting stuck on the stem like mine is, I'm going to come back with my knife. I'm just going to kind of cut that stem portion off. Really. Okay, it's a good idea to have a garbage bowl while you're working. So I have my garbage bowl here. I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing on the other side. I'm going to scoop around. And if you come off of the skin, that's not a big deal. Just keep on working. And cut off that extra in the end. All right, for the apple. I'm sorry. Then after we're done doing all that part, we're going to take and we're going to dice up this kiwi. Now kiwis are kind of squishy, so if you prefer to use a serrated knife, you completely can. Also, if you get too squishy like this one kind of is, I'm going to go ahead and I am just going to start using what we call a rock chop. I'm going to put my stuff together and just kind of put the blade of the knife down and work it. I don't want them too small, but I don't want them to be so big that I can't scoop them up with a chip. So there's my diced kiwi. Next we move on to our apple, and the apple says that it needs to be peeled, cored, and diced. So the first thing we're going to do is we are going to peel it, but I forgot my peeler. Give me a second. All right, so my apple, I'm going to, if you think back to Foods 1, we peeled the top, then we peel the bottom of the apple, going straight across. And I'm going to take the top off, just like that. I'm going to take the bottom off. Just like that. And then I am going to peel from the top to the bottom in strips, bringing it down towards me. This is the fastest way to peel your apple. Once the apple gets peeled, it says we need to core it and dice it. So the first thing after peeling is we are going to core. Now to core an apple, we're going to cut the apple in half lengthwise, going from the stem down to the core. Then you're going to cut those into quarters. Okay. And then what you can do is you can kind of bring your knife in sideways and cut out that section in the middle. So that's your core. The other way to do this would be to stand your apple up kind of and come down and peel that core out. Some people also take and they use their spoon and they kind of scoop that middle section out. So the core is out of that section. I like to use the sideways one. If you are not comfortable using the sideways method, by all means use a different one. Okay, so once we get peeled, we're cored, and now we need to dice. So we are going to, like the video said, always cut lengthwise first. So I'm going to take, my tip is down on the cutting board, my hand is in a claw holding my apple, and I have made these into slices. Then I stack up those slices, I turn them sideways, and then I go back and I'm going to cut into my actual small dices. Notice my tip of my knife is always on the cutting board. So I am going to show you that one more time. We come lengthwise first, always lengthwise. If it's rocking on you, go ahead and try to find a good stable spot. So I'm going to find a good stable spot. Make my slices. Notice my tip is always down. Okay, I'm going to stack those slices up. I'm going to turn them sideways and go back. Tip is down. And continue with the other pieces. If it starts to fly away on you, go ahead and just kind of work them back together. And you can always switch to that cross chop there if you would like to. I'm going to finish up the other two and I'll be right back. All right, my apple is all done. I'm going to move on to my strawberry. Now our strawberry is going to require our paring knife in order to make this safe for us. So your recipe says the stems removed and into a small dice. So when we use our paring knife, this is the only knife we actually use our pointer finger on. We are going to go ahead and come in and it becomes like an extension of your finger. So if you were trying to slice the top of it off and you were going to use your finger, you just do the same thing with your paring. I'm sorry, wrong thing dropped. You're going to grab like always, but then you are going to use your finger here. Once all of these stems are removed, then you can go ahead and keep on using your small knife. You're going to quarter them, so I cut them in quarters. And I'm just going to set those off to the side, so quarter them. Then I'm going to come back when they're all done. I'm going to come back with my chef's knife, and I'm just kind of do a rough cross chop over top of these strawberries until they are small enough that I would be able to scoop them up with the rest of my salsa. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to finish up these, and I will be back to show the final part. All right, and then our final steps, ladies and gentlemen, is just going to be to put these all together. So your first picture that I want you to show me on your, if you're doing this at home, is going to be cutting up all of these pieces. So you should have a picture of your ingredients looking like this. Everything measured out, everything diced, clean, poured, anything that was supposed to be done to it. This is your first picture. This is what mise en place looks like, not just the apple and the kiwi sitting there whole, okay? So the instructions are very simple. It says, in a large bowl, thoroughly mix the kiwis, apples, berries, strawberries, white sugar, brown sugar, and the preserves. Mix them up. The preserves are what's going to take you a little bit longer to get those going. As you mix this, you're going to notice that some of the juices are coming out of the fruits, and that is a good thing. That's what's going to give us that nice kind of sauce at the bottom. My brown sugar is very, very hard. I should have softened that before I put it in here. All you do is mix it all up. Your apples are going to start turning colors. Your berries are going to start turning colors. Juices are going to start coming out. Then it says to cover and chill in the refrigerator for 15 minutes. So you can either put plastic wrap. If you did it in a bowl that has an actual lid, you can use that lid. And then you can go ahead and use this. You can use it on top of ice cream. You can use it with regular tortilla chips. You can use it with graham crackers. Anything that you can think of that's sweet for dipping, you would be able to use it for this lab.